Rich Eisen, who you could say is sharing some of the floor space here with us. We have a nice spot right in front of where he will be for the next several days. And he, of course, is the face of the NFL Network. And I know Rich knew.
Front row seat. I mean,
I can't wait.
You're going to be looking up my dress right there. I mean, that's right in front of us.
Easy saying things like that with some of the colleagues that you have.
Is this thing on? It wasn't even on.
There you go.
The thing wasn't even on.
That's how good your voice is.
The thing wasn't even on. I was going to use my line, "Is this thing on?" And the answer is actually it was not on.
It was not on.
Yeah, I mean, that is front row. You're going to see some fun stuff today.
Major hand claps for your crew. They've been busy at work since we got here Sunday
I know.
night.
They've been killing it. They're the best. And that's the thing about our 100 hours of live coverage is the hard work that everybody behind the scenes does, because we're not just here. We're at the NFL Experience. We're at the stadium. We're at team hotels. And I don't know how we pull it off.
How does the scale for you work that it makes it more fun and easier to do, or less fun and harder to do because you have such incredible personalities sitting with you when it's 3, 4, 5 at a time sometimes? Urban's there, Marshall's there, Dion's there. And they're never going to stop talking, which is good and bad.
It is great. It makes it so easy. It really makes it easy. You know, I don't have to worry about, well, is this microphone going to work? Is this light going to be on? Is this an analyst going to bring his A game? I really don't have much to worry about. It's just have fun and just make things as conversational and natural as possible. And ask the right questions, ask the right follow-ups, hold my analyst's feet to the fire, and take the fan and place him or her in my shoes and be the fly on the wall with me. That's my gig.
Well, one of the things I want to ask you, and we're going to have a quick little sounder here and give somebody $1,000 in about 30 seconds, but some for you to. Oh, we're not. Okay, that's even better. I like that.
I'll take the $1,000.
Even better. We're going to give it to Rich instead.
Thank you. It'll be put to good use, I promise you.
Take you down memory lane here for just a second.
Sure.
Your very first Super Bowl of the NFL Network was the one in Houston.
Yes, it was.
Did you think at the time when you left ESPN to go to NFL Network that it was a good career decision, or did you think?
Yeah, I listen, man. Here's the scoop. When I first got to SportsCenter, it was 1996, and I looked around the room. There was Keith Olbermann, Dan Patrick, Craig Kilborn, Gary Miller. Tirico was doing SportsCenters, Robin Roberts, and the list goes on. And with Stu, who I saw around here yesterday, looks great. And people were watching SportsCenter, and everybody hadn't seen the highlights before, maybe. And in some cases, may not even known the result of the game. And as I progressed in the 7 years that I was there, people were seeing it on their handheld devices. People were going on the Internet. People definitely knew the final score. Even if they didn't, there was a bottom line that was showing you the final scores. And so the job went from fashioning a creative lead-in, and then the presentation of the highlight came after that. It went from that to basically wall-to-wall highlights, and then the role of the anchor was to be the moderator and two analysts taking opposite viewpoints, in a crossfire sort of setting. And I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't want to do that 120 times a year anymore at SportsCenter. So I wanted to do other stuff. There was a meeting of the minds and a parting of the ways. And the NFL Network came along, and I moved coasts. I started something from scratch instead of being part of something that had already matured and was one of the greatest organizations of all time. I got to start something from scratch, work for the Shield, and talk football every day and do more conversational work. So to me, it was a no-brainer. Obviously, going from 100 million homes to 11 million homes was filled with a little bit of nervousness. But after that Super Bowl in Houston, my wife was there too. I mean, we looked at each other, and I'm like, this was definitely right. I mean, just 11 weeks in, and I had just interviewed George Bush Sr. and Brett Favre, who was at the time just coming off of that loss to the Philadelphia Eagles where he threw the pick in overtime in a playoff game of a season that his father had passed away. And there was a lot of emotion, and he was there. We had a 20-minute conversation with him. all of that happened in the first Super Bowl, and I'm like, this is what it is 11 weeks in. I can't imagine what it's going to be 11 years in, and here we are almost 9 years in. This is our 9th Super Bowl. So that's my long-winded answer to that.
Patriots then and Patriots now, and we comment on this all throughout the season, even covering the Patriots from Houston, and hopeful that the Texans are in their group, which they might be now, but covering that team in the Super Bowl, knowing you're going to get what seems like so very little from Coach Belichick and his players, and even though he brought a little comedy this year, more so than in years past.
Hey, man, it's like he's been dosed. I don't know.
Is it him?
You're looking at him right now. He's live on NFL Network holding another press conference with a smile on his face. And he has been expansive. He has been introspective. You know, he has been all of that. And his press conferences have been entertaining and informative, filled with, he's waxing rhapsodic. I mean, he's been great. I don't know what's gotten into him.
He and Tom Coughlin have incredibly evolved. We watched it yesterday afternoon. You guys ran on NFL Network the story of the 2007 New York Giants.
Uh-huh.
And just within that season, he just talking about how he thought he was going to get canned going into the year, and he talked about how he needed to reach out and let his players know that he cared, going from the tyrant that he had been the first 3 seasons and kind of becoming more human. And who knows whether it's because he had his son-in-law on the team or whatever the case may be of why he changed, but he obviously did change. And you can tell the difference. He just seems like a totally different individual.
Well, Kurt Warner told a great story on our media day coverage yesterday that after he was finished with the Giants, and it was obvious that this was now Eli's team, and Kurt was going to have to move on somewhere else. You know, Kurt knew that he was done, and Coughlin called him up and said, listen, I know you're finished with us now, but do me a favor, take a couple weeks and write down on a piece of paper everything that you saw this year that you think we could do better. Make us a better coach, make me a better leader, all of that stuff. And Kurt was blown away by that, and he did it. You know, he did it. And Coughlin's here in year 4 and 8 of his coaching career with the Giants. The same thing as Parcells with the Super Bowl in years 4 and 8 with him with the Giants. He won them both. Coughlin could do the same come Sunday. It's pretty incredible.
Would you say you are, aside from your gig on NFL Network, more famous for running the 40, or still maybe your This Is SportsCenter commercial with the Syracuse Orange, where you told them to go out and use the woods out?
Well, that was not the orange. It was the
I'm sorry.
It was the Hilltopper.
That's
it was
right.
the Hilltopper. Yeah, it was the Hilltopper.
Well, see, I remember you from the spot.
Thank you. Hey, man, I've been lucky. You know, I've been very, very lucky. I don't want it to come across what I said before about SportsCenter that I didn't take it for granted. It just evolved into a show I didn't want to do over and over and over again, or the sole thing that I was doing. And I loved it. You know, I was there from 96.
It was the best thing going on in sports when you and Kilborn and Olbermann and Dan Patrick.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you including me in that with Kilborn. I mean, we only overlapped for I think 8 months. Actually, I was at the end of the killer run there at Bristol. But just, again, I was there from 96 to 03. I was 26 years old when I first walked in there. It was a time of my life. It was a dream come true. And, you know, I'm friendly with a lot of the guys there still at ESPN, and they're great people. I enjoy competing with them now, to be very honest. I've been fortunate to have that part of my career help establish me already with a lot of NFL players when I first came on the job here, and now I've been on NFL Network longer than I was on SportsCenter, which sort of blows my mind a little bit. Somebody posted, I think, on an article about how they sent when they were in high school back in '96. They sent a fan letter to 10 different SportsCenter anchors. And he came across the photographs that came back just now as he's a 30-year-old man or whatever, and he posted it online. And I saw my 96 headshot, and I'm like, who is that guy with all that hair? You know, I mean, it's coming and it's gone, and I'm talking about my hair now. And but I've been really fortunate, so I wouldn't even dare to say what you people think I'm more famous for or anything like that. I'm just having the time of my life.
Rich Eisen, the NFL Network, with us here on the Big Show, and there will be a lot going on NFL Network this weekend. One of the highlights beyond the game is awesome, but one of the highlights is always the Hall of Fame presentations, and that it's always up for debate, and it's amazing how much the fans care about who gets in, who doesn't get in each and every year, and every fan base wants their guy to get in. Who do you think is going to be the most debatable?
You take a look at the list of finalists, and they all deserve it. They all should get in one day. If they all can't get in, obviously, in one time. But I think the reason why fans care so much about it is it not only validates their fan experience, that they watch this guy, maybe get drafted all the way through to his Hall of Fame career, and it validates their team and their guy who they love. But the reason why I think they care so much is because the players care so much. These guys care so much. I mean, they have been there, they have done that, they have shattered records, they're in record books. And some of their records are so far ahead of what has been set previously that their records are not going to be broken. They've got Super Bowl rings. They've got all of that. But one thing that they don't have is the immortality for it. And when they get in, that's the last thing. That's the last piece of the puzzle. And so many of these guys are so emotional about it. And it means so much to these guys who have already done it all. That is what I think fans tap into, because they realize that the players love it just as much as them, and you and the player relate, because we do love the sport so much, and it's awesome, it's great, and it's the day before we crown a new champion that we honor the past. It's a great crossroads moment in the Super Bowl week.
When you consider that and your ability maybe to give your thoughts on who you think might get in, we're here at the Super Bowl. I know you have a dais full of analysts already. Mm-hmm. Do you miss any element of yourself being involved in analysis, breaking it down?
No, I mean I'm not going to sit here and point out who the mic is on defense. You know what I mean? Like, that's not my area of expertise. I wouldn't profess to do that, and I don't want to be the guy who's like, hey, I know just as much as them. That's not what I do this for. I do it because it's fun, and I'm the conduit for the fan. That's why I'm doing this. I'm the guy that the fan wants to ask the right question. I'm the guy that the fan wants to have the access provided to them. I'm the guy who does that. I'm the guy who's sitting there and making sure that the fan experience is what you sitting at home want to see and hear and be entertained and informed by. So I'm not ever going to sit there and go, man, I wish I could be breaking down this all-22 film when Deion Sanders is doing it. That's the dynamic. But I do give my thoughts every now and then. And
how about now? Super Bowl 46.
I think it's going to be close. I really do. I have no idea who's going to win it. I really don't. I mean, the Giants won the last two games with touchdown passes in the final 30 seconds. So I'm expecting it to be just as close again. It's got a lot to live up to, man. This season's been ridiculous. From day one, game one, Packers-Saints coming down to the last snap, all the way through to the championship Sunday games with two tests of wills with equally strong physically and mentally teams going down to who made the mistake, and I think this game's going to be the same darn thing.
Appreciate you stopping by. Thanks
bet.
To Verizon Wireless, the official wireless service provider of the NFL. Biggest game, biggest wireless network. You can even watch the Super Bowl.
You can
live on your phone.
On your Verizon wireless phone, star NFL to get all the information and get yourself set up so you can watch the Super Bowl on your phone.
I watched all the NFL Network games on my phone this year.
That's why I said, the job changed. It's no longer people tuning into a show to find out what happened and what you've seen, when you could just sit there and watch it in your hand. Things have just totally changed, and it's obviously for the better. It's good times.
And when the NFL Network announces that Peyton Manning has signed with the Houston Texans,
you'll see it on your Verizon mobile phone. There you go.
Verizon.
There you go.
That's weird. Joe Montana ended with the Chiefs, and Brett Favre ended with the Vikings.
That happens. Johnny Unitas is a Charger. I mean, come on.
And Peyton basically says, I'm not retiring. Does it just seem? Is it going to seem more out of place with him, you think, seeing him somewhere else?
The reason why we're here for a Super Bowl is because of his success here, right? His success here helped build that stadium and helped put Indianapolis football on the map. It's no longer just a basketball state in town; it's a football state, and that's because of Peyton Manning. So it'll be strange, of course, to see him if he's not going to be a Colt. It'll be definitely strange. It'll be even stranger to see him retire at age 36 if that happens too.
He'll be sitting right there with you, I'm sure, shortly.
Maybe so.
Rich Eisen, the NFL Network. Rich, really appreciate
Pleasure,
you stopping
guys.
by for a while.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
You
Rich
too.
Eisen.